Welcome to week 2 on personal mastery. It all begins with personal mastery. Although that's specifically what we'll be studying this week, you will be working on personal mastery throughout this course. In a learning organization, each individual, particularly the leader, has a reflective disposition. Therefore, we will be doing a lot of reflection in this class. This week, looking over here at Moodle, be sure that you check out the directions for this personal journal activity as soon as possible, because you'll need to do that activity and make some notes in your personal journal in order to successfully write this journal reflection. Before you write journal reflections, it'll be really important that you watch the screencast of the ORID reflection method. The ORID reflection method is based on theory that was laid down by Kolb. Let's look at it here. It's that when we learn by experience, we first, obviously, have an experience. But we don't necessarily learn from experiences just by having them. We need to reflect on them in order to actually learn from experiences. And then after reflecting on them, we conceptualize them, meaning we put them into words, which is why you will be writing your reflections down and also sharing them with other people from time to time. After conceptualizing our reflections, then that leads to us making adaptations. We might make decisions about how we want to behave differently, or we might end up thinking differently about ourselves or about the world. And then the cycle goes around and around. And every time that cycle goes round, we grow and we mature and we change the way we think. And our personal mastery becomes stronger and more developed. What is personal mastery? Well, think of it this way. If you were to take your beliefs and your values and what you say and what you do, how you behave, and those were to match up perfectly, that would be excellent personal mastery. And every time we go through this learning cycle, we improve our personal mastery. You cannot change society unless you change yourself. So as we work on our personal mastery, we continue to develop personally every time we go through the cycle, and that increases our ability to make a social impact. That increases our ability to make an impact on our organizations, on the people around us, on our family, and on society. In Moodle, the required assignments are Senge, you'll read Chapter 8 on personal mastery, and then Rosenberg is our nonviolent communication book. Chapters 1, 2, and 3 might sound like a lot, but each chapter you'll see is very short. You just need to really spend some time and engage with the Rosenberg text, because you'll need to read that text before you meet with your group, which we will talk about more in a moment. There are some optional readings, and one is this article that's entitled What Makes a Leader by Dan Goleman. Now, Dan Goleman wrote the book on emotional intelligence back in the 1990s, which was incredibly groundbreaking back then. And since then, he and others have done more and more research. And the research ends up looking at 3 main areas of skills that leaders have and need: emotional intelligence, cognitive intelligence, or IQ, and technical skills. For instance, if you're the CEO of an airline, you probably need to know something about marketing, about the airline industry, and so on. Those would be technical skills. It turns out that emotional skills, emotional intelligence, is 2 times more important than intelligence or technical skills. He defines emotional intelligence in these 5 areas: self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. We'll be working on all of these in this class. Later on, Dan Goleman wrote a book called The Focus Leader, where he explains that mindfulness, or the ability to direct one's attention, helps us to develop our emotional intelligence and our emotional skills. When we can direct our own attention, we're better able to direct the attention of those who work with us and those who work for us. So let's talk about this nonviolent communication. Seems like a weird thing to be doing in a class on organizations. This quote, "The world is what we have made of it. If it is ruthless today, it is because we have made it ruthless by our attitudes. If we change ourselves, we can change the world. And changing ourselves begins with changing our language and methods of communication." That's by Arun Gandhi. That's Mahatma Gandhi's grandson. Indeed, how we communicate changes the way we think, and it changes the way others think. We really cannot change our organizations, or certainly cannot change the world, without changing the way we communicate. This week, looking at Moodle, you will indeed be meeting with your compassionate communication triad, or quad. I hope you have set up a time that you can meet regularly each week for the next 4 weeks. Before you meet with your group, be sure that you open and do this short worksheet called an identity wheel worksheet. This worksheet will help you become closer to your group and understand your group to develop emotional safety in order to work together. Inside Moodle here is an agenda, or directions for what your group will do together. And of course, you will be doing things out of the Rosenberg text, so you'll want to be sure that you read chapters 1, 2, and 3 in your Rosenberg text to prepare for meeting with your group. After you meet with your group, you will fill out this individual worksheet. That is, each of you as individuals will fill out this worksheet. There'll be questions about what you did together as your group and what you learned from it. Why work in groups? Well, we are social animals, which means that when we learn, we need to learn from others. We learn not only from seeing what other people do and what they say, but we learn by what others reflect back at us. There's that word reflection again. I really cannot see myself. I literally, physically cannot see myself. I need to depend on other people to reflect back what they see of me, how I act, and how I behave. So that's why we work in groups. You'll also be working in groups so that you can actually practice the skill of nonviolent, compassionate communication. Good luck with your journey of personal mastery.